Hey, this is Bryce Harper, and welcome to the Philly Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki, part of the Foul Territory Network. It's Monday, August 26th, 2024. Guys, big weekend for the Fightin' Phils. They scored some runs. Last time we talked, there was a lot of doom and gloom. It's amazing what one weekend can do. I didn't get to see a lot of the games. I was at Hershey Park this weekend with the family, running around, getting on roller coasters, trying not to get sick. I'm getting old, and I can't do roller coasters anymore.
You needed a vacation from your vacation.
I need a vacation. It's no vacation when you're with the little kids like that.
Hershey Park's fun though, man.
It is. It's fun. It was all about survival for me. But the Phillies, again, like Friday, right? We're talking about how they can't get anything going offensively. Their approach at the plate, they're swinging and missing too much. Friday does not look great, but then Saturday and Sunday, they put up back-to-back 11-run games. It's the first time they've posted 10 or more runs in consecutive games since, I looked this up yesterday, August 6th, 7th, 2022. They blew out the Nationals. They haven't done this 3 straight games since June 8th to the 11th, 2004. When they split a couple games on the road against the White Sox, and they won a big blowout win against the Twins at the Metrodome. Ruben, you were there. What was the big difference?
Well, I mean, it was pretty clear. I mean, there was no question in my mind that the top of the order was really struggling. I think that Kyle Schwarber sort of set the tone a little bit better, started swinging the bat a little bit better. There's a bunch of guys who I think really started to turn it up a notch. And I was concerned about them. I mean, You start thinking about the guys that you thought would move forward this season. Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott. You thought that those two guys were going to start moving things forward as far as the offense is concerned. And Brandon Marsh's strikeout rates just were ridiculous. I mean, close to 50% over the last couple of weeks. Bryson Stott had not been utilizing the whole field. A lot of big swings, a lot of foul balls back, trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Well, those two guys swung the bats pretty darn well the last couple of days. You saw JT Realmuto finally get his foot down a little bit more consistently. Had one really big day, but a couple of good swings. And Bryce Harper really hasn't gotten it going yet. I mean, he hasn't hit a home run in a long, long time, like the longest, I think, stint of his career. But it was a great sign because guys were doing like the little things, a little bit of small ball. They were just making contact. They had struck out so many times in the Atlanta series that it was like embarrassing.
Yeah.
And, there's way too many strikeouts. Weren't putting the ball in play, weren't doing what they had to do to just fight at the plate. And I saw a bit of a turnaround with that in the last couple of games, actually last 3 games, because I think they got 11 hits in the first game. The fact that Taijuan Walker pitched so poorly, basically took him out of that game. But they started to swing the bats well in that series on Friday. And I saw much, much better at bats. Having JT and Garrett Stubbs in back-to-back games have huge games was really big for the Phillies. And you cannot dismiss, what Ranger Suárez brought to the table. The fact that he was on the mound and pitching the way he did, that was a particularly special moment, I think, for this club and pivotal in a lot of ways. So That's my take.
Well, coming out of Atlanta, I used the right description, doom and gloom, Todd. It felt really doomy and gloomy. And to come home on Monday morning with a split, play a 500, have a 500 trip, I thought was a real positive because if this team can play 500 on the road the way they play at home, they're going to be fine. Some of the big eye openers for me on the weekend were Stott. the way he swung it, and Suárez, the way he came back on Saturday night, because I just think both of those guys are so important to where this team wants to go, needs to go. And, they both lengthen their respective units, the lineup and the rotation. So need to see more, but really positive steps on each side. I thought Stott swung the bat great, particularly on Saturday night. But, basically throughout the weekend, his at-bats were very good. So, there were other positives on the weekend, but just most of all, it just felt like just one of those another occasion where it felt like they were kind of righting the ship. Now it's up to them to extend it and do more with it, because, 2 good games over the weekend does not, make up for 2.5 bad months. And that's what they've had. Tale of 2 teams, really good early and really mediocre after that, barely mediocre. So, but coming home, tough homestand with Houston and Atlanta, 2 teams with a lot to play for, 2 teams with a big history against the Phillies. So it should be a very interesting week.
You guys both mentioned Stott. So I'm driving home on Saturday night. I'm in the car listening to Scott Fransky and Kevin Stocker. And in the 6th inning, I think Nick Castellanos had a single. Bryson Stott comes to the plate, and Bryson Stott puts the ball in play, hits the lip of the infield or the cut of the infield, backspins over the second baseman's head. And I think it was the next batter, maybe JT hits the 3-run home run. And in the back of my head, Ruben, I remember you talking about this on Friday about putting the ball in play. In the back of my head, as this ball goes over the second baseman's head, I hear Ruben in my head go, "This is what happens when you put the ball in play. Good things happen." Good things happen. They struck out 33 times against the Braves last week. They struck out 20 times this weekend against the Royals. So 13 fewer strikeouts, 13 more balls in play. One of them maybe being Bryson Stott's little, crazy backspin hop. Boom, sets up a 3-run bomb. Everything is right in the world again.
This is interesting about that play is, and I talked about it a little bit on the broadcast yesterday, is that they just put that new sod down. They literally just put that sod down like a week before, I think, their that series while they're on the road trip. And it was just the sod in the infield because they want to go to a different, for some reason, they want to go to a different Bermuda grass or blend or whatever the case may be. They laid it down, and that ball hit that lip, and I guarantee it had a lot to do with the fact that there was a new sod.
Someone's in trouble on the ground.
Somebody's going to get one of these. And if I was a GM, I'd be going,
"Yeah, what are you doing?"
I will say this: they did it against pretty good pitching. They had, they had to face some pretty good starting pitching. I didn't think Lugo was as sharp, but the fact that they beat up on Lugo, who has not been as sharp as the first half. And the fact that they've, swung the bats pretty well, that bullpen's terrible for the, for Kansas City Royals. I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's just not great stuff. But that said, you still got to get it done. It doesn't really matter how it gets done, just that it does. You make a great point about just making contact. And, even a couple of times, I mean, you had Johan Rojas get a couple of infield hits to extend innings, just touch the baseball. Another thing that I will actually say is that my feeling is that Howie Kendrick came in town, and he's been around the ball club a little bit. I'm not sure if that was by design for a reason, because they haven't been swinging the bats well, whether they just needed another voice in there. I mean, who knows what would have happened if they would have continued to be terrible, which was amazing to me. They were literally as bad as you could be for the talent that they've had offensively. You get sort of concerned about, do they make changes? Are they going to do something with the hitting coach and all this other stuff? Because the 2 assistant hitting coaches were let go last year.
Yeah.
They had new assistant hitting coaches. Is that working? Was that working at this time? I mean, you start thinking about, how this is going to, affect, the hitting coaches this year. And they brought Howie Kendrick in on this. He came in, I believe, in the Kansas City. I'm not sure if he was in Atlanta, and I can't recall. But just the fact that he's here and he also traveled with the team back to Philadelphia, I'm not sure if he's given them a little bit of, a little help, a little observation, whatever the case may be. I don't want to put it on him necessarily because the guys have to do it in the box and they have to commit to it when they're at the plate. But maybe it might add some positive effect. And it was just something I noticed that happened as far as the personnel is concerned.
Well, that's very, very interesting because he was a professional hitter who gives you a lot of good at bats, and like he's not in the batter's box, but he can certainly articulate things around the cage and help with mindset and just help with a new voice. He's a been there, done that guy. He's got some what would you call it? Grit, competitiveness, toughness to him. He's
fiery, yeah.
He ain't afraid to ruffle a feather or two, like Howie. Ruben, Todd, at the end of last week, I was actually speculating that it might, or, kind of opining that it might be time to send Marsh out. His at-bats were that poor. And then Friday night, he just lights it up. Friday night, he comes out, he's turning on balls. He's driving balls the other way. He had really good at-bats. Do you guys get the sense that they were getting close there to doing something with him? Because like for the month, he was like 45% strikeouts.
I know
go ahead. Tom.
No, I was going to say, I just know that there was a lot of frustration there with Brandon Marsh and just the lack of productive at bats. Because like you said, Ruben, I think they thought that he was going to take a step forward this year, and they keep wanting him to prove himself to be the everyday player. And now it's gotten to a point where it's like, when do you play this guy? Can you play this guy? Can you trust him? Is he going to give you a quality at bat? So, I mean, he struck out only 3 times at 12 at bats this weekend. But yeah, I think there was a lot of frustration. I don't know how close they were to that decision, but a lot of frustration, I think, internally about his play.
There may have been some rumblings, and listen, it's a production-based game. If you don't produce and you're a young player and you don't have like the track record, and he really doesn't have like the track record like some of the other players do, the Trey Turners, obviously, and the Harpers, you can suck that up because at some point, and even Castellanos, you can kind of suck up, a month or two of production that's not normal, and still know that at the end of the day, you're going to get the kind of production that you sort of need. And Castellanos is a perfect example of that. Jimmy, you and I talked about that a lot, that at some point he was going to get it right. He's been probably the most consistent guy they have, but Marsh wasn't there, and Marsh hadn't really built that equity. And hopefully he continues to produce because he's important. Stott's important. He's important. I mean, we talked about the length of the lineup in the early part of the season. Like those guys, they need to produce. And if they don't produce, they'll get replaced. Like Dave Dombrowski doesn't screw around. If you're not a productive player in the major leagues, you're not going to continue to play, and you're not going to be on the club. And that's, listen, I love the person. I love all those guys. They're really great people, and they're great teammates. At the end of the day, they're going to have to produce, and it was great to see them sort of bounce back and do some of the things that they have done in the past that they need to continue to build on.
And we will be right back.
The summer gets super busy, and getting back on a good fall workout routine needs to be easy for me. With Anytime Fitness being available anytime, anywhere, they make it easy to work on getting stronger and more confident into my schedule.
Kratz is spot on. It's got to be easy to make that routine happen. And that's why we love Anytime Fitness, with access to 5,000 plus well-equipped gyms open 24/7. And this is not your average gym experience. They also provide personalized coaching support that provides members the best training, nutrition, and recovery guidance, which includes the Anytime Fitness app that generates personalized workout plans and tracks your daily progress.
Get after it, FT fam. To claim your free Anytime Fitness trial pass, visit anytimefitness.com. and get yours today. We'll also drop that link in the description of this episode. Check out more info and claim that free trial pass at anytimefitness.com.
Guys, I think we talked a lot about the good things that's happened this week, so I think now is a good time for the Philly of the Week. Philly of the Week presented by Shibe Vintage Sports. Get unique throwback Phillies tees, hats, and sweatshirts from local artists at their shops in Center City, Wayne, and Westchester, and of course online at shibesports.com.
Hey, you guys were wearing you guys call each other today with the Spectrum and the Vet, the old school venues. That's pretty awesome. I wore mine the whole trip. When my workout, I wore a couple of them. Ben Franklin one. I have a picture of the Ben Franklin one. I'll shoot it out there because Ben Franklin was at a coffee shop. He literally had there's like a pewter thing of him. Anyway, I'll tweet that out at some point.
I missed the Vet. I really missed the Vet.
Yeah.
My parking spot.
The players don't.
My parking spot at the Vet was so close that I'd often get blocked in. If I was getting out of there quick, I'd get blocked in by the visiting team bus.
Really? That's right. We used to have parking spots. Media used to have parking spots at the Vet. I forgot about that.
We had them right underneath, like where the press entrance was. It's funny. I can still remember getting out of there really quick one night and walking out, and the Giants bus was there, and Matt Williams was on his early cell phone. It was like a block. And I could see him in the bus, and I'm waiting for their bus to pull out so I can get out of my parking spot.
That's funny.
That is so funny.
Hey,
so
I wrote. We sat at the Vet, the foul balls. Oh my God, they would come screaming.
So, I wrote on my wall. I had the great fortune when I moved into the front office there, because I literally went from being on the field to the front office in '98. At the end of '98, and when we ended up blowing it up. Just beforehand, I wrote on the wall of my office. I had Rudy Carpenter's old office and desk. It was like the greatest desk and office ever. It just happened to be that I got that office, and it was right across the way from Ed Wade's. And I wrote something like on the wall before they blew it up. I wrote in a Sharpie on one of the walls. I wrote something like, "Thank you so much for all the memories. I appreciate everything that you brought to us Philly fans," or something like that.
Right.
And apparently a cop before, when they were like making sure that everybody was out of there, and had to make sure that there was nobody in there when they imploded it. Took a picture of that, and someone has it. I've never seen it. I would love to implore people if there's a policeman who did take that. I remember somebody telling me that, and I've never seen the picture, but apparently they took a picture of it. I never did.
Let's put that out there. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
if you find that photo, man.
I would love to be able to put it. I think I will put it out there when we throw this episode out there online. Yeah. I'll shoot that out there as well.
Send him a T-shirt.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Send them whatever, man. Somebody has it. Somebody mentioned it to me, and I never really followed up on it. I'd love to be able to see that picture.
That's very cool. So let's do Philly of the Week. I started last week, so I can't start this week. I don't want to, pick. We can go different guys. Let's start with Jim. Jim, who's your Philly of the Week?
Wow.
Who do you got, bud?
I got Garrett Stubbs because I thought it was really important that, you got a nice win on Saturday night, stopped the skid a little bit, but it was very important that you build on that win. And he came out to play yesterday, had himself a day at the plate, and obviously JT with the big night the night before, and, Sunday afternoon game, 97 degrees. I knew JT was going to sit.
Right.
And I knew people were going to go crazy, but Stubbs' play silenced a lot of people. So we're not listening to, everybody squawking about JT getting a day off after he swung it so well. And Stott comes in and he contributes like a member of the team. He does more than contribute. He was a real difference maker for that team. So he got JT a day off. He helped them win. He helped them build a modest two-game winning streak, but they come home looking to continue to build on that. So I thought his performance was important on several levels. So he is, the Philly of the Week for me.
Yeah, great call. And to follow up on that, I talked to Rob Thompson after the game. I said, awesome game. I said, Garrett Stubbs really, really played well. He goes,
Pick you up, Rob.
Yeah, he goes, he saved my ass. He was kind of kidding. He said, I'm pretty smart. Huh? I had a hunch.
Well, I mean, it's
again, I know, I understand it. Me being a fan and an ex-GM, you start thinking about, why in the world is this guy not getting why is he getting a day off? Well, there's reasons, and they need JT for this last month and a half or 2 months to be playing at a high level every day. The fact that he had that scheduled day off, that was rough on a lot of people. But you're right about Garrett Stubbs. Great call. I actually have JT as my player of the week, because I think JT had a phenomenal game. He's starting to come out of whatever funk he was in. He's getting his foot down more consistently. I think that those overall at bats and approach, obviously having 2 3-run home runs does not hurt, but JT's my guy. Did a nice job. Did a super job with Ranger Suárez coming back and managing through that. I thought that was really, really important. And he's such an important part of their not just defense, but their offense as well. And when he comes on, that really lengthens out the lineup. So I got JT as my player of the week.
I took Ranger on Saturday night, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. Jim, you talked about this a lot. Like, when it took a long time, such a long time for Ranger to come back. When he comes back, they need him to be Ranger. I mean, not full bore, I guess, but you didn't want him to come out on Saturday night, go 4 2/3, 9 hits, 4 or 5 runs, and then have him go, well, he's trying to shake off the cobwebs a little bit. He's got to get the rust off. It's going to take him a few starts to get going. They don't really have time for him to get going. They need him to be pretty sharp. So I thought it was really encouraging against a pretty good Royals team that he came out and threw the ball well. He seemed to be throwing all 4 of his pitches, with commanding him and seemed to be keeping guys off balance. I saw a couple of the highlights, and he seemed to be, dotting the corners again, kind of like what he does with the sinker, which was encouraging. So Ranger Suárez for me, Philly of the week. It's funny that we've done this now 2 weeks in a row and we haven't doubled up on anybody yet. So there's that, so
I liked Ranger's body language too. I saw a little bit of Ranger, the swagger. When he's making a defensive play. And it told me that he felt okay. Definitely a good sign that the way he threw the ball, something to build on. And, all of a sudden, if he's back, you're going 4 deep again. And that's the foundation of this team. That's where they built that great record on the backs of the starting pitching. I think that's what's going to take them through October. If they have the October they'd like to have, the successful October they're aiming for, you're going to need that starting pitching. And in the short term, if you're going to go 4 deep, it allows you to really bear down on Taijuan Walker and say, are we going to see this through, or are we going to, have somebody else go on that 5 spot? Because, if you're 4 strong, instead of it's a big difference being 4 strong than just 3 strong.
Right.
And I don't know if they can continue on with Taijuan. I think they're probably reaching a decision time. I don't know what that decision is. Just simply to replace him in the rotation with maybe Allard, who threw the ball pretty well yesterday, kept them off balance, or it's time to say goodbye. I don't know whether they would do that, because depth is still valuable, but you're not really getting quality depth there. So it's an issue I'm sure they're digging into up on the executive level, right, Ruben?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, had he have not had that contract right now, he's still owed like $40 million or something crazy like that. And so that's a very, very difficult thing to just kind of walk away from. That said, I would not be surprised if at some point, and I don't know if they've gotten to that breaking point yet, it's getting close, I think, either put him in the pen, which he will not be effective in, he will not enjoy, or just letting him go. And that's a really tough thing to ask John Middleton to eat. $40 million is $40 million. That said, I mean, if they truly don't think that he's going to be a viable major league pitcher in any role, then it's possible. Anything's possible. You have to produce in this game, and we've done it before, not with these kind of numbers this big, but the organization's done it before. We did it with Jeff Jenkins one year when he had six and a half. We did it with Adam Eaton. I mean, we've done these things before in the past, but that's a huge number. But if they don't feel like his arm is able to bounce back and do the things that it needs to do, I think he might get one more shot at it. Maybe. I think the fact that they think that they have 4 strong now, I think they're going to be very careful with a couple of things on Ranger. Very careful with Ranger. He's not going to pitch on his normal rest. I think he's going to pitch on 5 days rest this next time. I think that they're concerned about his back spasms. They can continue to kind of flare up. And they know that they're not dum-dums. They know that without Ranger Suárez, that puts them in a real heap of trouble to be able to manage through those playoffs, in whatever role. And so they need to have him available and to be pitching well. So it will be really interesting over the next this next turn of the rotation. They may be tweaking some things. I'm not sure they're at the breaking point yet on Taijuan, but I will tell you that if he comes out and pitches the way he pitched his last time or his last 2 times, I think that might be it for him. That's my opinion. I haven't talked to anybody about it. It's a very sensitive issue, but they're not going to stand for it. And they're probably lining some things up in AAA to make sure, whether it's Allard or whether it's Phillips or somebody else that needs to step forward. You sort of have to give yourself a chance to win a baseball game. And if you don't have a chance to win the baseball game with your starting pitcher, that makes life real tough.
Well, you can plug one spot. It's hard to plug 2 spots, and that's what they were doing. So with Ranger back, they don't have to plug 2 spots. But if Taijuan's going to get one more, and I hear what you're saying, I think that's quite plausible. He gets another chance. It's going to come at home, and all of a sudden now you're going to have, 43,000 stockholders voicing their opinions in the boardroom, and you better pitch well, or those opinions are going to be loud and unpleasant.
That's the thing. I just haven't seen anything so far that said, all right, I see this coming around where he's going to get it figured out. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. You're just hearing the same things after every start. Well, the velocity isn't there, but I think it's coming. Okay. Well, now it's been, how many starts this season where we've been talking about after every start, the velocity isn't there, but I think it's coming. We've been hearing a lot about how the splitter, it's not quite there yet, but it's getting better and it's going to come. So, you hear that over the course of the season, how many starts has he made? At least, 10, 12 starts. Okay. When is it actually going to come, or is this just something that you hear from a pitcher? Because we've all been around this situation before. Remember, like when Roy Halladay was breaking down, it was, this has to happen. I'm almost there. All these pitchers on the decline. We're almost there. I just have to do this more. I have to get ahead in the count a little bit more, and I'll be okay. But it's not happening yet. So that's the thing, is I just haven't seen any real true signs of encouragement from Taijuan Walker to make you think that, just give him a couple more starts, guys, and don't worry, it's going to be back.
Yeah. And how good can the splitter be if there's no velocity? Seriously.
Right.
Yeah,
he's getting no swing and miss on it.
There's no separation with his pitches. I mean, I don't see any arm speed. I don't see the arm speed that he once had. And I know that's something that they've been hoping would bounce back and that he would have some arm speed. You're right. I mean, he has to be absolutely perfect with his command, and he hasn't been perfect with the stuff that he has right now. And it's not like he's not trying. He's trying, and he wants to perform. He just hasn't been able to do it. And I do think he'll probably get one more start to be able to prove that, or to try to turn things around, but we will see.
So let's wrap this up. Phillies open up a big series this week against the Houston Astros. The Astros, guys, were 12-24 on May 8th. They had the 4th worst record in baseball. They're 57-36 since. Going into yesterday, it was tied for the best record in baseball. So they've been on a roll now for several months. It's Zach Wheeler versus Ronel Blanco on Monday night. Aaron Nola versus Justin Verlander on Tuesday. and Christopher Sanchez versus Spencer Arrighetti on Wednesday night. So that's a big series. And then you got the Braves coming to town for 4. So see if they can.
People were talking about the Astros being sellers. I mean, there were articles being written in June. Oh, the Astros, they're done. People, they're going to sell. I mean, it just illustrates how ridiculous it is to make these early pronouncements, especially for a team that has that type of talent. They're banged up a little bit, and they know how to win. They've been there. They've done that. You can't write teams off too early, especially teams that have some experience and the talent that the Houston Astros have. It's a big series for the Phillies. It's a big test. Need to continue build on these 2 games and take it home where you're a very good team.
Yeah, I remember talking on MLB Network about this. That at some point they were going to turn it around and no one stepped forward. Seattle ends up getting playing so poorly that they fire their manager. The Rangers can't get healthy.
Right.
So there's nobody really to compete out there. The Angels stink, the A's stink. And so, I mean, they step forward and they're starting to play. I mean, they've got champions there. They have people who know how to play and know what it is to be a champion. And this is a great test. These next 7 games, they are really
huge.
Important games. They're doing them at home. Hopefully they can play good, solid baseball like they did in the last couple of games. Last 3 games, other than the Taijuan debacle, the last 3 games they've actually played a little bit better.
We'll be back on middle of this week, maybe Wednesday. We'll answer some questions. If you want to send questions, we'll put out a tweet and respond to there. Facebook, Instagram, shoot us a note if you want us to have any questions about the Phillies or you want any life advice. We'd love to give you some life advice.
Yes. Well, because we're lifers.
We are lifers.
We're lifers.
Yeah. Don't come to me, Jim says. All right, guys. We'll see you later. We'll see you later this week.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.